NASA's DART mission was the first test at what had been in the realm of science fiction until now, redirecting an asteroid that could be on a collision course with Earth. The double asteroid redirection test mission was launched in 2021. Joining us now is STEVEN Tingaye, John Curtin Distinguished Professor from Curtin University. Welcome to APAC Network. Professor, what has been the early scientific assessment of the strike?
Well, the immediate assessment is that the essential elements of the mission were successful. The DART spacecraft collided and basically bullseyed this asteroid at a distance of 11 million kilometres from the Earth. So that's an incredible feat. There's a fair amount of uncertainty as to what the consequences of the impact will be, and that will play out over the coming days and weeks. But the essential element of the mission, which was to deliver the spacecraft to the asteroid, already successful.
Now, we understand there were two asteroids targeted. Why two?
Yeah, it's an interesting system. It's a system composed of two asteroids, a largish asteroid and a smaller one, and they orbit around each other. They're gravitationally bound together in the same way that the Earth is gravitationally bound to the Sun. So it makes a really nice system to do this type of test. The system was chosen because it's not on any sort of trajectory or orbit that poses a threat to the Earth, so it's a very safe system to test such a thing on. But the fact that it's a binary system with one asteroid regularly rotating around the other one means that you can measure that rotation before the collision and after the collision and detect the difference. And then that tells you, hopefully pretty accurately, what the consequences of that impact were.
This is a relative question of impact, isn't it? Even the tiniest shift of an asteroid's trajectory surely would have a significant impact.
Well, it's an asteroid of around about 160 metres diameter, and the size of the DART spacecraft was much, much smaller, sort of the size of a vending machine. But it was travelling at 24,000 kilometres per hour, so that's a lot of momentum. So even though it's a small object impacting a large object, what's important is how much momentum is transferred. There's the predictions on what the actual change in the asteroid's trajectory will be are pretty uncertain. It's dependent on complex factors such as the composition of the asteroid, where the impact occurs. But I think they were hoping for something like a 1% change in the orbit of the asteroid. So that means sort of 10 minutes change in a 12-hour orbit. So that's should be relatively easy to measure using telescopes on the Earth.
The spacecraft itself took 10 months to reach the strike zone, and then it had to use autonomous targeting using images of the asteroids to complete its mission. So how high was the risk of failure there?
Well, it's a pretty impressive technology, but autonomous targeting is not really a new thing. It's used in lots of different applications. So I think they would have had a pretty high level of confidence that they were going to have success using that system. As it turned out, I was sort of listening in to the mission control commentary in the seconds leading up to the impact, and it was announced that they were sort of right on the centre of the asteroid to an accuracy of about 17 metres. So that's about 10% of the diameter of the asteroid. So the autonomous targeting system did its job virtually perfectly. And that's pretty incredible at that distance, purely autonomously.
And of course, there's a very good reason behind doing all of this. What is the reality of an asteroid colliding with Earth?
Well, it's not an uncommon occurrence. Within the solar system, there are a very, very large number of asteroids, most of which are quite small. So an asteroid in the size range of a few metres would not pose any significant threat to the Earth. And such an impact might happen once every 100 years. it gets much more serious when we talk about the smaller number of large asteroids. So asteroids in the size scale of 1 kilometre diameter and above pose a pretty serious risk to the existence of our civilization. Happily, there's a relatively small number of those types of objects, a bit less than 1,000. And we have already discovered more than 95% of those objects. So we have a pretty good handle on most of the really serious threats. And an object of that size would be an impact event on the Earth once every sort of 500,000 years. So rare but catastrophic. So I guess the point of the DART mission is to demonstrate that, if needed, a planetary defence mission could be mounted in the case that a really serious threat was identified.